This is the reading of Genesis 5. I'm going to read chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9. But before I start that, do notice that the questions 1 through 7 are going to be answered by Genesis 6, 7, and 8. The second part of the assignment is going to be the covenants, which is in chapter 9. And some other interesting things that happened during that section. And then the last part of the study guide gets into a summary of what we want to talk about to prepare you for the final test. So that actually doesn't apply to the reading of just this section. It applies to all of Genesis. Okay, so let's start talking about the flood. When mankind began to increase and to spread all over the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of the gods saw that the daughters of men were beautiful. So they took them for themselves such women as they chose. But the Lord said, "My life-giving spirit shall not remain in man forever. He, for his part, is mortal flesh. He shall live for 120 years." In those days, when the sons of the gods had intercourse with the daughters of men and got children by them, the Nephilim were on earth. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. When the Lord saw that man had done much evil on earth, and that his thoughts and inclinations were always evil, he was sorry that he had made man on earth, and he was grieved at heart. He said, "This race of men whom I have created, I will wipe them off the face of the earth, man and beast, reptiles and birds. I am sorry that I ever made them." But Noah had won the Lord's favor. This is the story of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, the one blameless man of his time. He walked with God. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now God saw that the whole world was corrupt and full of violence. In his sight, the world had become corrupted, for all men had lived corrupt lives on earth. He said to Noah, "The loathsomeness of all mankind has become plain to me, for through them the earth is full of violence. I intend to destroy them, and the earth with them. Make yourself an ark with ribs of cypress, cover it with reeds, and coat it inside and out with pitch. This is to be its plan. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a roof for the ark, giving it a fall of 1 cubit when complete, and put a door in the side of the ark, and build 3 decks, upper, middle, and lower. I intend to bring the waters of the flood over the earth to destroy every human being under heaven that has the spirit of life. Everything on earth shall perish. But with you I will make a covenant, and you shall go into the ark, you and your sons, your wife and your sons' wives with you. And you shall bring living creatures of every kind into the ark to keep them alive with you, 2 of each kind, a male and a female, 2 of every kind of bird, beast, and reptile shall come to you to be kept alive. See that you take and store every kind of food that can be eaten. This shall be food for you and for them. Exactly as God had commanded him, so Noah did. Chapter 7. The Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous for me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of all the beasts that are ritually clean, and 1 pair, male and female, of all beasts that are not clean. Also 7 pairs, male and female, of every bird, to ensure that life continues on earth. In 7 days' time, I will send rain over the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe off the face of the earth every living thing that I have made." Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. He was 600 years old when the waters of the flood came upon the earth. And so, to escape the waters of the flood, Noah went into the ark with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. And into the ark with Noah went 1 pair, male and female, of all beasts, clean and unclean, of birds and of everything that crawls on the ground 2 by 2, as God had commanded. Towards the end of the 7 days, the waters of the flood came upon the earth. In the year when Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that very day, all the springs of the great abyss broke through. The windows of the sky were opened, and rain fell on earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day, Noah entered the ark with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, his own wife, and his 3 sons' wives. Wild animals of every kind, cattle of every kind, reptiles of every kind that move upon the ground, and birds of every kind, all came to Noah in the ark, 2 by 2, of all creatures that had life in them. Those which came were 1 male and 1 female, of all living things. They came in as God had commanded Noah, and the Lord closed the door on him. The flood continued upon the earth for 40 days, and the waters swelled and lifted up the ark so that it rose high above the ground. They swelled and increased over the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the waters. More and more, the waters increased over the earth until they covered all the high mountains everywhere under heaven. The waters increased, and the mountains were covered to a depth of 15 cubits. Every living creature that moves on the earth perished. Birds, cattle, wild animals, all reptiles, and all mankind. Everything died that had breath of life in its nostrils. Everything on dry land. God wiped out every living thing that existed on earth, man and beast, reptile and bird. They were all wiped out over the whole earth, and only Noah and his company in the ark survived. Chapter 8. When the waters had increased over the earth for 150 days, God thought of Noah and all the wild animals and the cattle with him in the ark, and he made a wind pass over the earth, and the waters began to subside. The springs of the abyss were stopped up, and so were the windows of the sky. The downpour from the skies was checked. The water gradually receded from the earth, and by the end of 150 days, it had disappeared. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark grounded on a mountain in Ararat. The water continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains could be seen. After 40 days, Noah opened the trap door that he had made in the ark and released a raven to see whether the water had subsided. But the bird continued flying to and fro until the water on the earth had dried up. Noah waited for 7 days, and then he released a dove from the ark to see whether the water on earth had subsided further. But the dove found no place where she could settle, and so she came back to him in the ark, because there was water over the whole surface of the earth. Noah stretched out his hand, caught her, and took her into the ark. He waited another 7 days, and again released the dove from the ark. She came back to him towards evening with a newly plucked olive leaf in her beak. Then Noah knew for certain that the water on earth had subsided still further. He waited yet another 7 days and released the dove, but she never came back. And so it came about that on the first day of the 1st month of his 601st year, the water had dried up on earth, and Noah removed the hatch and looked out of the ark. The surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, and the whole earth was dry. And God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife, your sons and their wives. Bring out every living creature that is with you, live things of every kind, bird and beast, and every reptile that moves on the ground, and let them swarm over the earth and be fruitful and increase there." So Noah came out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. Every wild animal, all cattle, every bird, and every reptile that moves on the ground came out of the ark by families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took ritually clean beasts and birds of every kind and offered whole offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelt the soothing odor, he said within himself, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, however evil his inclinations may be from his youth upwards. I will never again kill every living creature as I have just done. While the earth lasts, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall never cease. You should be able to answer questions 1 through 7 at this point, and it might be a good time to pause it. Chapter 9. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you shall fall upon all wild animals on earth, on all birds of heaven, on everything that moves upon the ground, and all fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Every creature that lives and moves shall be food for you. I give you them all, as once I gave you all green plants. But you must not eat the flesh with the life, which is the blood, still in it. And further, for your lifeblood, I will demand satisfaction. From every animal I will require it, and from a man also I will require satisfaction for the death of his fellow man. He that sheds the blood of a man, for that man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God has God made man. But you must be fruitful and increase, swarm throughout the earth and rule over it." God spoke to Noah and his sons with him. "I now make my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, all birds and cattle, all the wild animals with you on earth, all that have come out of the ark. I will make my covenant with you. Never again shall all living creatures be destroyed by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to lay waste the earth." God said, "This is the sign of the covenant which I establish between myself and you, and every living creature with you to endless generations. My bow I set in the cloud, sign of the covenant between myself and earth. When I cloud the sky over the earth, the bow shall be seen in the cloud. Then will I remember the covenant which I have made between myself and you, and living things of every kind. Never again shall the waters become a flood to destroy all living creatures. The bow shall be in the cloud. When I see it, it will remind me of the everlasting covenant between God and living things on earth of every kind." God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant which I make between myself and all that lives on earth." The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and their descendants spread over the whole earth. Noah, a man of the soil, began the planting of vineyards. He drank some of the wine, became drunk, and lay naked inside his tent. When Ham, father of Canaan, saw his father naked, he told his 2 brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a cloak, put it on their shoulders, and walked backwards, and so covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way, so that they did not see their father naked. When Noah woke from his drunken sleep, he learnt what his youngest son had done to him and said, "Cursed be Canaan, slave of slaves, shall he be to his brothers." And he continued, "Bless, O Lord, the tents of Shem. May Canaan be his slave. May God extend Japheth's bounds. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. May Canaan be their slave." After the flood, Noah lived for 350 years, and he was 950 years old when he died.